what's going on in the freight forwarding industry? Obviously, a lot of people are reaching out to me. What's going to happen next year in 2024? So this is my XPORT forwarding 2024 forecast and what I kind of expect. So first off, freight rates have dropped a lot, as everybody knows. On the inbound side, we're in a $1,200 to $1,300 range, and on an export side, depending on what market, but we're way below $1,000, and some West Coast ports even below $200. And generally speaking, this is kind of a funny market to us, because generally speaking, in a weaker economy, the US dollar is very strong. So this is a kind of a little bit of a tricky market, because generally speaking, export are very strong in a down cycle in the industry, and the imports are generally speaking very weak. We kind of have a funny situation going on where the imports are weak and the exports are weak, which kind of throw things off a little bit with the traditional backhaul market that we have seen, where the US, generally speaking, has been a US export backhaul market, meaning that the export freight rates are generally speaking cheaper than the import freight rates. So it's really going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the near future and in the next few months. We have seen, one of the largest commodities, waste paper and grain, that come out of the United States have been very, very slow on the export side, and obviously import kind of fell off the cliff. So I expect import rates to remain the same. I don't really expect import volume to really pick up dramatically here in the next quarter. So I think we're going to stay very similar to that. On the export side, I think a little bit different there. We see things kind of picking up a little bit, and we expect freight rates to slowly come back up once the volumes come. But we have historically seen the lowest export freight market that we've seen in a very, very long time. Warehousing continues to stay tight. I believe that's still due to high inventory levels, and it's really interesting to see what's going to happen there. And I think this is why the imports dropped off so dramatically in the last 2 quarters, because many warehouses and operators and shippers still had a lot of inventory level, and the inventory levels were quite high. On traditional freight forwarding, and when I say traditional freight forwarding, I'm talking really about service-based businesses, right? So if you do the paperwork for some of these bigger companies out there, we see that business to be very steady. I don't think there's any kind of crazy movements going around. I don't think everybody's planning on switching anytime soon and looking for new vendors in certain fields. If anything, we've noticed that some of the larger shippers are a little bit more concerned about the well-being of the forwarders, just because there's such a large layoffs rather in so many industry levels, and we've seen large freight forwarders lay off some of them up to a third of their workforce. And I think that's really just the aftermath from COVID, where everybody was hiring like crazy to kind of keeping up with the demand that we had. And I think kind of things are kind of normalizing that way. A few things that you can do if you're a freight forwarder: utilize this time to find new customers that you normally don't service. Maybe look at complete new segments that your industry or that your company hasn't served previously. I know that there's some freight forwarders going out of business because especially the import focused ones. But I think there should be some opportunities there for you to pick up a couple good accounts that maybe don't get the service anymore like they used to. And then especially with a big wave of layoffs of all these freight forwarders, I think that they might run into some service issues long term. So, I always like to look at the positive things when there is negative things happening in the industry. And I strongly believe that, some of the larger freight forwarders are going to have some customer service issues to deal with. And you as a medium or small freight forwarder can utilize this time to potentially take on some of these other customers that maybe don't get the love at the big freight forwarders that they normally would get. So that's kind of my overall forecast for 2024. I stay optimistic and positive in 2024. I expect that things are going to start pick up. And that is what we have already seen. Of course, 2024 is not going to be the whopper years that everybody has seen in 22 and even 23. So that's all I have. Please comment if you have any questions. We would love to talk to you more if you have any questions with you. And please subscribe. Thank you very much. And follow me.